And welcome everybody to the world's greatest podcast. My name is Craig Renti, and I am the world's greatest podcast host. And on this podcast, we talk about technology and all different aspects. But today we're going to talk about something a little bit differently. A little different. We're going to actually talk about people and culture and how those two things interact. And I'm very excited to have our guest today, and I made sure I get the pronunciation correctly, Rafael Vendramini, longtime procurement professional and thought leader in the area of technology and humanity and culture and how these things fit together and help companies and people succeed. So, Rafael, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, Craig. Thank you for your kind introduction. I'm very pleased to be here and help people to thrive in their transformation process, either digital or cultural transformation. That's a challenge that every company is facing, especially with these incoming technologies and disruptive things that are happening around the world. So nice to be here. Thank you for the opportunity.
Yeah, no, listen, thank you for coming on board. I think this issue of sort of the culture of an organization is so key. And I love the fact that you're in procurement because, obviously we have services that we sell to companies, and most of the time our introduction to companies is through their procurement organization. And I can tell a lot about a company by how their procurement. I can tell the next year of my life how that's going to be by how we are impacted by the procurement organization, how organized they are, how receptive they are, how maybe standoffish they are. So you guys are the gateway into everybody's experience with your organization from a vendor standpoint.
Absolutely. I used to say that not only procurement, but inside the procurement, there is also material management side. So if you want to see how well organized the company is, go have a look at their storeroom. So if their storeroom is okay, is fine, you can be sure that this company is well structured and have very, very nice process in place. Otherwise, it will be a little bit of messy. And procurement will also reflect this kind of organization in the end of the day. So we try to be very human. We try to be very business oriented, because procurement was born to bring an additional value to the, let's say, not procurement per se, but sourcing more precisely was built to bring additional value to the organization. That's not only placing a purchase order to vendors. And part of our job also is to make those connections flourish. So it's interesting to see new companies coming by. Sometimes we don't have as much time available to give the right support and attention for newcomers, let's put this way. So, but every time that we do, we can be let's say a door for innovation and for new approaches and new companies that are coming into the market, and that can make our life easier, or at least can solve some of our problems. So it's an interesting aspect also to connect with vendors.
It's so my work experience, I was at Oracle for many years, and obviously technology company. I've got a few things I want to talk about sort of on how they approach transformation and human element of that. But when I'm thinking about sort of my experience now at Palisade and working with vendor management organizations and strategic sourcing and procurement, sometimes many times or too often, we have to get past the technology to talk to people, which is really frustrating. Right? You have to do this vendor setup, and then you have to fill out this form, and then you have to register over there, and then you have to, respond to this thing, and sort of all these steps. And we're like, if we could just talk to someone, if we could talk to someone who sort of had a bigger picture of what they were trying to accomplish, this would go so much easier. And I appreciate those procurement and vendor management people who are keyed into their organization's strategy, and they're sort of well-informed, because it makes it so much easier to deal. And that doesn't mean they're going to always give us the business, but at least you get sort of an informed partner on the other side, and they can guide you in the right direction. So I think when the procurement is done right and those people are energized and ready to go, it works really well on my side of the table as well, not just your side of the table.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you touch a very interesting point because we used to say that procurement isn't about saving money; it's about buying wisely. And we can only act wisely when we are connected with wise people. So at the end of the day, we can be serving companies, but we are serving people. So we are connecting with people. So this people aspect is extremely important. Mostly we neglect this aspect in general because we are looking too much time into numbers and into metrics, and we forgot about the people and the histories or the stories that we can tell by reading those messages. So it can be a little frustrating because in a rush we don't give too much attention, but in the end of the day we need to give people the time to present themselves, to present those solutions, so that we can internally also foster those solutions or even challenge the business or challenge the status quo of the company, so that we can promote those change, those innovations, and give space for the strategy also to survive. Okay, so culture is a very important aspect. We cannot neglect this the importance of culture, because culture is I think it's Peter Drucker used to say that culture eats the strategy for breakfast. So we need to
Yes.
be very, very keen about who are we talking to, who are we impacting in any kind of process, any kind of solution that we're going to go after. And when we are participating in those business events or fairs, to have a look at what the market is presenting us. So that's where we can contact vendors like you mentioned, that will bring or can bring us solutions for problems that we have been struggling for many years in general. So it's kind of part of it should be part of procurement culture also, to give space for new vendor, new comings. It's important. I totally agree with you with what you said.
How do you, as a leader of a sourcing organization, you've got a lot of pressures around you from your internal customers, from your external suppliers. I'm sure we want this organization to spend less money when they buy stuff, but we also want to spend less money on this organization itself. And you need to do more and more with less and less. So when you're under that kind of pressure, and I think you sort of mentioned, some of the effects are maybe we don't have enough time to spend with this. How do you instill a culture as a leader that, people on the front lines can can adopt and sort of get behind and really flourish versus floundering.
Yes, it's complicated because in many times we start working in circles, trying to only go after those low costs or to lower the cost no matter how, and we forgot about the total cost of ownership. So in a way, when you are a leader, you need to have a wider vision about the business itself and the impact that the company is bringing you. Because we used to say when we are managing a vendor, okay, this vendor can cost me less in terms of dollars per unit that I'm buying or purchasing for them. But if that, in the end of the day, reflects in more time for me to manage the vendor because of delays or because of poor quality of the vendor, he can cost me more than another option that we have in the table. There would
Hmm.
be more dollars per unit, but will provide me everything that I need with on time in full. So I would have to stock more for this product. So we need to give a wide range of vision and talk more with people, especially in from the stakeholder side. So the earlier you connect, the earlier the stakeholder provides you the insights on the business, so that you can have more clarity about where the problems lies under and where we are going to need to go after the additional value. That's where we can foster and we can move forward in buying wisely, managing to vendors wisely, and having, let's say, an internal commitment inside the company, so that everybody is going towards the same direction. Because many times in many companies I worked before, procurement was going in one direction, operation was going to another different direction.
Hmm.
and then come the commercial aspect, asking us to both to get aligned to go to a third way. So nobody was speaking the same language. So it's kind of a bubble inside the company
Yeah.
because everybody was looking only into this side of this silo. It was very siloed, let's put it this way. So we were only looking at what we were doing and not considering the impact of this work to the overall environment, not only in the procurement side, but in the operations, in the vendor side. So it's kind of complicated, and many times we lose a lot of opportunities also in terms of business per se, because when you serve a company as a vendor, you also struggle to understand what I need as a buyer.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, so and we as procurement, IT procurement or procurement in general, we try to hide a little bit of game so that we can have, let's say, a leverage in the negotiation table.
Mhm.
But that's not the right strategy for 100% of the time. So there are times that I know that, okay, this company is very important for me. And I can give you an example of tomato sauce, okay?
Mhm.
That I worked before here in Brazil. So we used to sell tomato sauce in cans. So
Okay.
when we used to sell tomato sauce in cans, let's say roughly half the price of the tomato sauce in cans is the packaging side. So the consumer was paying at least half of the price only for the packaging.
Wow.
And the other half of the price is for everything else, the product, the logistics, and so forth. So for me, in this scenario, I should say my packaging vendor here for cans is extremely important because in the day I'm selling him first and my product later because I'm let's say I'm paying him, let's say, half of the price of the product. So in this aspect, I need to be much more transparent with the vendor, presenting him better the business, the perspective that we have in hand, the challenge that we are facing into the market. We need to present, and he also needs to come to me with additional solutions and about in how to make the product cheaper, or at least strategies to keep the price steady in a certain period of time to make both businesses feasible. Because if the tomato, if my packaging can supplier make the product not valuable into the market, I'm going to retrieve it and replace it with a plastic option
Right.
that's coming, let's say, much cheaper aspect for the consumer. So in this type of business, I need to be, let's say, 110% transparent about costs, impacts, and like make a joint venture with the vendor because I'm selling his product together with mine. So it's kind of a joint venture. So I cannot refrain in opening him some kind of things, and he also must feel comfortable in sharing with me many aspects of his business, including the margins, so that we can negotiate in price and terms that will also be beneficial for them because I'm paying him and also paying him to pay for the raw materials, the processes, and also some margin because that's what the business is made for, to make money. So we need to be very transparent and translucent in this aspect. But in other games, in other businesses, the game is totally the opposite. So when it's a leverage material that I can buy and replace it for whatever purpose. So if I'm buying a pen or a pencil, so no matter if I'm buying from vendor A or B, the pencil that I need is a brand specific, and I can change it easily from one time to another. So I don't need to be very transparent. Neither the vendor need to be transparent with me. So because it's based only on pricing. Okay.
Very transactional. So
It's
you can
very
both walk
yes.
away and it's not really going to impact the businesses very much.
Yes, correct. So that's the side. So in terms of people, we have to also start connecting with people with whom you're going to leverage the work that you are performing and bring this additional value that I've mentioned before. Because again, procurement is not about saving, not only about saving money, but it's about buying wisely. So I buy wisely when I know what I'm buying, when I know my client, when I know my vendor, I know the product, I know the impacts it may comes, I know the side effects, and I can handle everything inside a table in a transparent manner and sharing not only the benefits but also the risks with everybody that is included in this supply chain.
So a couple of things. First of all, we buy a lot of tomato sauce in this house.
Very nice.
Yeah, my wife is Italian. That's my background. So this totally changes my experience when I look at that can of tomato sauce now and be like, $4, half of that was for the can. So,
Half of the and sometimes it's even more because especially in tomato, I do prefer way better to buy in glass packaging than
mhm.
in cans or either pouch. And glass is another different type of material, more expensive than cans. So you are paying more for the packaging than the product itself.
We grow some in the backyard too. So maybe we can make a more no. So the other thing that you said, and when you get back to sort of the cultural aspect and sort of the people aspect of procurement, it sounds like there could be uh, some things that you buy which require more personal interaction and more of a relationship, and some things that you buy which can be completely automated and doesn't really need a
Absolutely.
human interaction. Um, is that true, or
Yeah.
like? So what's
Yes.
an example when, you gave a great example with the tomato sauce and the cans. That's a pretty strategic thing for a company that sells tomato sauce, right? That's, having a
Correct.
can, but maybe for another company, it's just a can, who cares? It's 3% of the package. So we can go, from one to the other. So how much, when you're building a vendor management or sourcing organization, are you doing that? Are you looking at
Yes.
different product categories and saying, okay, for these can be 95% automated and these need a lot of relationship. We're going to put a lot more people in this area.
Yes, yes. So there's a lot of well, I'm coming from procurement and sources, so for us that is pretty natural, but sometimes for our stakeholder that's not so crystal clear. So in terms of procurement and sourcing aspect, one thing that you need to do first is to do a really and good spend analysis, and the spend analysis involves also in putting into a risk matrix, in a CrowdRisk matrix, I used to say, where each of the subcategories or category or family of products lies under. So when
Mhm.
it is a strategic product, that's the example of the tomato sauce. So that will require a lot of engagement, a lot of time, energy, and transparency, and a lot of things that need to do in order to ensure the fulfillment of any need for the organization. So you have the strategic aspect. We have other aspect that is the bottleneck. So bottleneck is when you have high complexity, okay, but you don't have so much value involved on it, but it's still a bottleneck for you because you cannot change suppliers easily from one vendor to another, so that's what we call a bottleneck.
Mhm.
In the other aspect, when I don't have too much complexity, but I have a lot of value involved, a lot of money, and the pencil and the pen is a perfect example. Office material is one of them. So you can automate many of the aspects, either from the relationship or even using automation aspect per se, in terms of planning, scaling, and so forth. That's the leverage aspect. Okay, and the bottom of the quadrant here is what we call the non-strategic or the transactional, that have very low value, no complexity at all, that you can change. There are several vendors into the market, so you don't have to have a robust strategy for that. You can either outsource the purchasing of such items, because again, you're not buying it in high frequency, not so much value involved, so you can pick any subcategory that is inside of it, and building material sometimes that you're only purchasing once a year, a plumbing item because it's something that's related to the maintenance of the building and so
Mhm.
forth. So that's not so relevant to the organization. So if you're paying, let's say, $1 plus the market, but you're buying so few number item of this product wouldn't change too much your spending at the end of the day compared to the tomato can, that every cent count in the margin in the end of the day, So you need to plot it, you need to make an assessment, you need to assess the importance and the complexity of each material. So there is a taxonomy involved in that as well. So when you do spend analysis, you first start categorizing this spend into direct, non-direct, services, and so forth. For each of those categories, you have subcategories, families, so you can go into at least 4 levels. And then when you have granulated enough this information, then you apply this project matrix, then you have more visibility about where you should spend time on. And what would be those categories that you can move faster in going after the automated aspect, or if you want to do a BPO process, you're going to do with this type of materials, because if I'm purchasing or if I'm delegating it to another company like Accenture, IBM, or so forth, another third party, they're going to perform better for me. That's fine as well. So it's part of the strategy. Again, we need to buy wisely. So I need to spend my time in those categories and stakeholders that are more involved into the business than in those small things that are only bringing me no value at all.
One of the things that you write about, or that I've read from your writings, is technology and people. And just to tell a little, so when I was at Oracle, I started as drafting contracts, right? So I was an individual contributor, had a little territory that I supported. And over the years, I worked my way up through the organization. And at some point, I was managing the whole thing for the whole company. So 1,000 people working for me all over the place. And I remember this one meeting we had, the people, because Oracle develops software, so they have an application called Oracle Contracts. So, and there was 10 different versions of that. So we had our leadership meeting of my organization. We had everyone in a room together. And I was like, you know what? Let's get the contracts development team in here. And I want to hear what they're working on, because eventually, we're going to use this stuff. I mean, that was Oracle's big thing. We always used our own, we used to say we eat our own dog food or drink our own champagne. They made us change that term to drink our own champagne. So I remember the contracts development team came in and they said, we're going to have this great program where you don't have to do anything. I was like, okay, let's hear. So the customer is going to want some stuff. So now this is multi-million-dollar purchases. This is very customized, highly negotiated. It's not, we're not buying pens, we're not buying pencils. So it's millions of dollars in each transactions, and they're going to go into their procurement organization Oracle contracts application, and they're going to type in some stuff, and it's going to transfer electronically to our stuff, and then we're going to be able to see what they want, and then we're going to hit accept, and you guys could, like, and he even said to us, he goes, I don't know what you guys are going to do. I mean, this was 20 years ago. This is before AI. This is like the beginning of the internet. This is like we went from client server based to, and we're all looking at each other going, I don't think that's going to happen. These guys have no idea how the business is run. Like, and I was, getting, my job was to make us more efficient and lean. And on one hand, I'm like, if that would work, I would do it tomorrow, but it's just never going to work. We need to involve some people, and I'll tell you the rest of that story. But have you been in situations like that where technology was this promise that it was going to solve all your problems, and then it just went and didn't work?
Well, I would say yes, because sometimes we feel also we are intrigued about bringing to the company the cutting edge technologies, and we forget about this aspect about people. So over 15 years of global experience across procurement operation and digital transformation in multinational environments, so in different cultures, I say that varies from company to company, but most often that occurs when IT, especially when we have a good relationship with IT. So because in IT we can dream a lot, we can see things happening so vastly, But in the end of the day, I would say when we if change, transformation, and innovation is made by people. So we need a human-centered leadership to make things simple. So we need to simplify the complexity because the business are complex, especially when we are leading with global organizations. We need to align cross-functional agendas with operations, with many, many people. And when we forget about it, we are, yes, buying a white elephant, that we should say, because, okay, it's nice, it's beautiful, but if we live in a crystal room, an elephant will be a huge mess for the whole organization. So we need to combine this foresight. So this foresight, this vision about the future, but putting people in charge of their own agendas in reality. Because when we are speaking in technology per se, we should see a lot of people coming into organization without the right knowledge about the processes and so forth. So we tend to build on the technology to make the people that are operating not to do as much let's say errors into the process, so they can fit into the technology better. And from my experience, when we do this type of things, we end up alienating the operational side, the people that are performing those type of activities, because they rely more on the technology than on the knowledge that they can build in understanding and learning and see what is the best approach, because the technology will be, between quotes, serving, guiding, and avoiding mistakes in the end of the day. So, and I have a situation recently here in Brazil when we were implementing a new SAP, and we thought that our buyers was more experienced and more intelligent, to put this way, between quotes, than we expected. Because, okay, he's performing it for 2, 3, 5, 10 years in the same role. Of course, that he will know this vendor list. Of course, that he will know how to filter down which vendors are better for different types of situations. But when we implemented from SAP 1 to SAP 2, and we have another challenge in the other day, that is removing some of the high complex, let's say, prompts from one system to another, use more the standard side. So when you move from a very, very customized product, either Oracle or SAP or whatever ERP you're talking about, to a more standardized version, you need to rely more on the people that are performing the job, because the customized side, you see some errors occurring with more frequency, and you create some roadblocks there to avoid the occurrence of such problems. Instead of really healing the organization, you start bringing some, between quotes, electronic medicines, and they start alienating the operator about how to better perform his activity, because he relies a lot on the technology side, you see. And that's when we start failing the implementation of such a nice tool, because the people lacks the understanding about the process per se, not about the technology. Technology doesn't change too much, but we have get rid of some of the customizations that we have, and people really stop working. So we used to say, you change the color of the grass, and people could not walk anymore. Oh, it's a different environment. I cannot do it. But we have enough. We just changed name A to name B. That's all. Everything stays the same. But people got stuck. It's pretty interesting. It's pretty interesting because if you relegate this, or if you are negligible in this side of the operations, what I've seen firsthand, okay, I've seen experienced buyers, experienced professionals, kind of regressing to a level of let's say an intern, into the same type of activity, because he or she didn't feel safe enough to operate in this new environment. So even the very basic stuff, you need to ask the person, but haven't you seen that's process A and not B? Oh, sorry. Oh, that's true, that's true. And then people start getting used. So it's kind of interesting, this aspect of that. That's why many times I start focusing more on this culture aspect and creating those articles to really bring the human perspective back to the scenario of innovation, implementation, and technology. Because if you alienate too much your audience or your operators, in the other day they won't know what they are doing. So everything that is it should be intelligent
Yeah.
end up being very not intelligent at all.
We in, just building on my experiences. There was a point where someone tapped me on the shoulder at Oracle and said, "Hey, you're doing this great thing in the United States. We want you to do it for the whole world." I was like, "Okay." And what I didn't realize was we were taking 1,000 people from 40 different countries, completely changing their management. And we didn't change anything that they did that day, but making sure that was communicated properly. Like I was 2 days into my new job and I was like, oh my gosh, I need to do this very differently than I'm doing it, right? There's a few people who can top down manage and say, you will do this now and this is it. But those are the CEO maybe and some other people if they have that sort of will. But the people who used to be their bosses, like if you were in Brazil with the Brazilian team, I said, okay,
Mm-hmm.
you guys are all going to report up through my organization now. Well, their old boss was still there. So
Mm-hmm.
they still had a great relationship. Their old customers were still there, and now you just have to, deal with this next other person. So we really, really had to. I spent a lot of time that first year literally just traveling and listening to people and hearing what they did. And in Brazil, we do it like this. In Mexico, we do it like this. In Canada, we do it like this. In US government, we do it this way. On the West Coast, we do it that way. So even within the one country, there could be multiple different ways. And just listening to just the act of listening. Like sometimes the answer was no if they were asking me for something. No, we can't do it like that, and here's why. And but we can try this approach. Like so, just listening to what people because you have people shocked that they're now reporting to someone else. Now they're scared because like
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to get fired because they're going to put everything in India and my job is going, or they're going to automate it.
Yeah.
Um, and so I need to act, like you said, don't make mistakes, don't screw up instead of buying wisely. Or in our case, it was selling wisely. We were on the
Yeah.
sales side. So let's not let's do smart things, not the my old boss said, stop the stupid, stop doing the stupid things that we're doing because we're afraid of doing things. But the cultural transformation and one of the things that Oracle does really well when the sales reps who sell very well and the customers who are able to adopt technologies, the motto is simplify, standardize, centralize, and then automate. Right. So the
Perfect.
automation is literally the last piece.
Yeah.
All of those other things are people focused.
Yeah.
Simplify what you're doing. Instead of having 5 request forms, have one if you can. Have it go through this group over here. Go through the same, whatever it is. We had, we had 7 different standard contracts for the same product. It's like, you know, you can't just stop, but ask people, why are we doing it this way? Why are we doing it? Come up with one good approach that, gets 90% of the job done. So I think even Oracle, being a technology company, was ahead of the game and putting the technology at the end of that process. Of course, they wanted to
Correct.
sell it up front. Um, but that simplify, standardize, centralize, automate, I'd always took that to heart. Even here now with our little Palisade company is like, it's the automate. People are like, oh, let's buy this product. Let's do this thing. I was like, well, do we really need that? How about we just stop doing that thing over there completely instead of automating something that is unnecessary?
No, no, I think it's awesome. I really love your commitment with this type of mindset because in your day you're cultivating a learning mindset. You're building trust across silos in different countries, different cultures, And when people recognize that you are open to their ideas, so you have a learning mindset, and they feel empowered. Let's put it this way. So they feel how can I say, value in their opinions, in their point of views, and they are taking under consideration their complexity or their business environments. I feel that they can feel safe enough to propose something new as well. So as you said, so you need to first simplify. So you can only simplify if you understand the business and understand the struggle.
Yes.
And nobody better than who is suffering on a process to provide you the insights, or even to provide what is expected of solution in the end of the day to make the process simpler. And I use in a work in the company, there's a steel making company here in Brazil called Gerdau, and it was pretty interesting because they have, I think until today, it's more related to the quality side because they have, let's say, outstanding programs related to quality improvement and so forth. So they have like Six Sigma processes and programs that really incentive people to bring new ideas into the table and to present those ideas into a global committee, and they give them prizes also for the best ideas that got
Hmm.
implemented, and people feel energized. And when you go into an event where they are presenting, and the way they present is not simply a boring presentation with 102 slides, then the people start saying, no, they create like a kind of theater to
Hmm.
present the issue. And when you give space and incentive people to be creative also in presenting their case, they can surprise you in matters that you cannot imagine. So they can go from a business, let's say, business environment, and connecting it to like a party or into a Shakespeare play, you see, to present you the problem and the idea, and to make it very, it's really awesome. So when people feel safe enough, they can propose things new. They can help you in simplifying the process because you are building trust across silos, and people need to feel heard. And what you mentioned also reminds me a podcast that I learned from Maxwell as well about contextual leadership. So
Hmm.
you are building the context, so you're understanding the past, you're understanding where they are, you're understanding what we need to be done. You're sharing and getting insight from the team, so they feel empowered. They can feel the purpose of any change that you are suggesting in the end of the day, and you are gathering, let's say, their minds and their hearts for any change. There is no small change. You see, there are small improvements that can be done each day. So if you improve 1% of a process
That's right.
each day, after 100 days, you have 100% improvement. So that's the keynote for the innovation and improvement.
That's absolutely true. We're always, again, large organization, small organization. When you make a change, it has an impact. Most of it hopefully is good, but there's going to be, oh, well, we didn't realize this thing over here. So then it's constantly getting feedback from those same people, right? It's one thing to ask them, how do we improve this process? But once you do it, how's it going? Is it
Yes,
working? Is it
yes.
not working? Has it made the work better? Has it made us more money? Has it made your life better? Like whatever your metrics are, is it doing what we thought it would do?
Yes, and it should be part of the strategy of the company in the end of the day, because if you include this aspect into the overall strategy of the company, the strategy will be going after those solutions that will save me this additional dollar every day that will be eternal. So this company used to say every dollar that you save in the operations is eternal because it won't come back. You're going to be everlasting change that this way. So there are some pretty interesting also methodologies to be adopted to make this intentional. See,
Hmm.
so you just said in strategic sourcing, procurement, it's all about intentionality. It's not just execution. So, okay, we need to execute it 100% perfect, but if it's not serving anybody, it's useless.
Right.
So either if it's tactical or strategic, we shouldn't be focusing only on cost, speed, and delivery, but we need to be asking basically one question: and how do we get it done? So who are we serving? What values does this new solution unlock to the company? What risks does it carry? Can we provide better insights? Can we reduce the risk? Sometimes we don't have space enough to reduce the price, but we can increase the service level of a vendor so that we can reduce our storeroom. Okay, so if
Right.
we reduce storeroom, we are reducing working capital from the company. If we release working capital for the company, they can use this additional resource to make better investments. If they do better investments, they are investing in the long run. So in the medium and long run, the company will be better because not because I've made a better negotiation in terms of pricing, but in terms of service delivery. And then it saves money for the company in the long run, not in the short run because I'm paying the same dollars, but I can buy less units to keep in stock because I build more trust with my vendor.
Mm-hmm.
So those are the questions I need to foster inside the company. So what I'm struggling with, do I have too much money on storeroom? Do I have too much to fill money? Do I have a lot of capital available as well? So I can offer my vendor also a better payment term because you are a vendor, so you are in the sales part. So we as buyers usually see you vendors as a professional with a bag of money. Okay, so you're sitting on a lot of money. Okay, so and you're going to distribute this money to your clients. And the way we used to say that is, okay, you have money that for us is discounts or say. So
Mm-hmm.
if you give me a discount, you're getting from your bag of money and giving to my company. So how can I make Craig give me more of his money? Is when I'm willing to make more business with you, be more transparent, so you feel also valued when I give you the right attention, and when you can see also future businesses with my company in the other day. You see, so every salesman is seated on a bag of money. We need to understand how to touch him to release some of the money back to
No,
my
I like
company.
that. I
Yeah.
hadn't thought about it sort of that way, from your side in terms of the discounts or money that you can reallocate or give back to your company. So that's a really good way to put that. That's really interesting. On the sales side, because when I worked for a big company, I was on the sales side, and now I'm literally in sales as part of my job is getting money from our clients. And I can definitely see when a procurement organization, and there's like two ways they approach it, right? You give them, it's going to be $100, and some of them come to you say, listen, I'll do it if it's 80, and I don't want to talk to you anymore, and just come down to my price. And like, this is probably going to be one engagement with this company. Like, now, if the other company comes back and says, listen, I have $80 that I allocated to this, and here's what I can do, and what are some other solutions, that is when the communication starts, right? Because there's other things we can do to unlock some value. All right, I'll come down to 80 if you do a reference video for me, if you talk to my future clients, if I've got this other service over here you might be interested in. We've had so many times where a client has said, listen, I want to go from 100 to 80, and I say, hey, do you know we do this other stuff? How about we do it for 120 instead of 150? And they're like, okay, right? So the more dialogue that I can have with a procurement organization or sourcing organization, vendor management, the leadership, we because they don't know what we do, in totality, and I don't know all their needs. And the more you share,
Yeah.
the better the outcome will be. I think for both. We had one of our clients called me up. This is a month ago, and said, hey, we're going through this change and we've got all this stuff. So we're going to be sending you a lot of work. Just want to let you know that. So we're going to need to adjust this contract up, right? He's calling me to tell me we're going to give you more money. And I was like, well, that's great. I'm like, well, why are we doing it this way? He's like, well, we just want to make sure you're okay. We don't want to work you to death. We need you as, and we want, what did he call him? We want to be the client of choice.
Client of
When
choice.
when you're and when it's really busy and we're looking for a lot of your attention and that other company's looking for a lot of your attention, we want your attention. We want to be the client of choice. We want you to take care of us like you take care of no one else. So we're going to take care of you. And I just thought that
Yeah.
was like, I'd never had anyone say we want to be the client of choice. It's like, you're right. I do have a choice. I don't have to be your vendor. I mean, I will always say yes eventually. But that was interesting to me, is how they really looked at the relationship and the health of their vendors uh, long term, as they're going through, because they're going through a digital transformation and need more of our services to help with that. And it comes down to the people. So I really appreciated a senior strategic sourcing person reaching out to me and saying, hey, we've worked together for years. I just want to let you know this is coming your way. Is this going to be good for you guys?
Yeah, yes, no, that's an awesome case that you shared, because an interesting aspect that I don't know if you guys are aware of this, but inside the company's procurement slash strategic sourcing, they also compete inside the same organization to buy goods and services into the market,
Hmm.
because we inside the company, let's say we are a function, but especially when companies are getting bigger and getting more structured. In the past, they used to make their own, let's say the areas, the functions used to make their own purchase. So IT, they didn't have a, let's say a procurement IT guy or team to perform it. So the same technician, the same manager, the same director used to go into the market, connect with Craig, buy whatever is needed,
Yep.
and period. Things are start getting done. Same thing happened with the safety, with facilities, with law, and whatever. So inside the same company, we are, let's say, competing with the directors to make them understand that procurement and strategic sourcing or tactical buying can deliver more than their own team going into the market and buying the same stuff. So okay, oh, but I've been buying, let's say, bolts and bearings for 10 years. What are going to make a difference?
Yep.
And that's a challenge for us, you see. So we are not being brought into the table in an early stage, and when we do, so when procurement is brought early in stage and seen as a partner, not as a gatekeeper, just for compliance aspect of this way, but as a partner, then we can drive innovation by aligning our investments and business goals, ensuring compliance, and even shaping better the supply roadmap. And having strong relationship with good suppliers can help us a lot on that, because we can then sell internally our service better to the company, to the organization. When I say, look, I have this IT vendor that I have a strong relationship. I know that you need X service from them, but you don't know that we are all already buying another 10 other service from the same vendor.
Hmm.
So instead of you coming and contacting a different person inside the vendor, let me do this approach for you. I'll put you in the same bucket. I'll use my power that I already have with the vendor to include your service, the things
Right.
that you need, and then maybe you can enable you to make better things, not only the limited scope that you're presenting me now. So we can do things better in the end of the day. And sometimes we also approach a vendor like you, let's say Oracle, you brought it as an example. So I can approach Oracle not because the business that I have in hand now is interesting for you, but because I know that you are interested also in another type of business that I can purchase or that I've
Hmm.
been purchasing from your competitor, and you are interested in getting into my company. So I
Yep.
use this service as a door for negotiation, and then I can open you another opportunity in the future, and then we can join hands there, be partners, so that inside the company I can present my service better. I can present you better because you know better how what the expectations are. So we need
Right.
to build on those structures and those expectations so that together we can build things smarter, faster, and more reliable, to put this way.
I'm having flashbacks to my Oracle days when you were talking about you're also competing with organizations that have been used to buying their own stuff. And, I used to make my travel arrangements. I would call up United Airlines. I would call up Marriott. I would call up Hertz or whoever. And, it was a car. And it's like, well, procurement has decided we're now going to use this travel agency, and you can't do that anymore. You have to call someone now. And I was like, oh, that was awful for a while. And then it got even more. It's like, well, you can't talk to anyone now. You have to do everything online. And then I missed the people that I used to dread talking to. I was like, oh my God, I got to talk to these people. Uh, so I understand. Because I went through that sort of as a buyer of things here and there, but we are running out of time here. So,
Oh,
is there?
so
I mean,
bad.
I could talk to you all day about this. Just I think the people side of transformation is, um, and I think you've written this extensively. It's people focus on the technology and the shiny thing, the white elephant, and but it's always about the people. So. I know you write a lot on LinkedIn. Is that the best way for people to connect with you, is to find you on
Yes,
LinkedIn and
yes.
and read your materials?
Yes, correct. So I've been very active in LinkedIn, so people can find me, Rafael Augusto Vendramini at LinkedIn, and I also used to republish my stuff in my professional area. So I have it's like a kind of company site that's called Procurement Ideas. So you can either go after my stuff looking for my name or Procurement Ideas. You can reach me out of via email as well at procurementideas@gmail.com, or my email, my personal email is Rafa_Vendramini@hotmail.com. So I can provide you, then you can put in the link also. So it's not a
Yeah.
problem as
We'll
well.
we'll put all the links. We'll make sure everybody has access to I highly recommend, if you're in the business of people and transformation and the intersection of technology and transformation, uh, focus on the people first, and then everything else will come there. And Raphael is a great source of information and experience and guidance. So, Raphael, thank you so much for joining
Thank
us
you.
today. I found this conversation enlightening, and hopefully one day you'll come back.
Oh, I hope so. Because I like helping organization and professional translate complexity into clarity, so that transformation can become real, sustainable, and human in the end of the day, because we're not implementing system, we are supporting people.
That's right. We are
So
supporting people.
we
And
are supporting
and now
people.
you can put on your CV that you are now the world's greatest podcast guest.
Nice,
So
nice, nice.
put that right on there.
I'll be forever blessed. Thank you so much for
Thank you, Raphael. And thank
it.
you, everybody. We will catch you on the next podcast.